Here. Today we're going to have a lot of great information that will be shared.
Who is a president of Keller Williams Southeast Los Angeles, as well as which other offices?
Huntington Beach. Go on Huntington Beach.
Awesome. Keller Williams, Huntington Beach. We have here Josue Barrios with
El Camino Property Management.
the best property management in Southern California.
Thank you. Yes.
We have, last but not least, Sergio Angulo with
Century 21 Realty Masters at the Beverly office. Century 21 Realty Masters.
Century 21. Can I get a what? All right, everyone. So, why are we having a panel today on virtual assistants? Why are virtual assistants important in our industry? Being in leadership, I went to the CAR conferences, I went to the NAR conferences, and I just came back from the Inman conference about 2 weeks ago in Vegas, and guess what? There were no panels, no discussions on virtual assistants in our industry, so I was very disappointed. So I decided that, along with the affiliates of Downey Association of Realtors, and thanks to the Downey Association of Realtors, basically, they want you guys to have the tools and the knowledge to be at the forefront in our industry, everyone. Because no one's talking about it yet, but we're talking about it. And we have the best right here who have and are currently working with virtual assistants. So let's get the panel going. All right, gentlemen, you ready? Okay. So our first question for our gentlemen is, can you please share your experience or your background in the real estate industry? We have realtor, property management, and we have a broker. So let's start off with Rich right there.
32 years in real estate agent.
In February, I will have been licensed for 20 years. So I'm approaching that nice little milestone. A lot of that time I sold real estate, and then as we'll probably go into through this discussion, a handful of years ago, I started up and launched my own property management company. I've also been a director for the California Association of Realtors on the state board of directors for about 13 years now.
Awesome.
So I'm a realtor at Century 21 Realty Masters. Have been in the business for about 4 years now. I am a top producer at my company. I also own properties, self-managed properties, and I dabble in investments. So.
Awesome. Great. So as you can see, we have a diverse background, right? We have property management, broker, coach, and we have top producing realtor. Now, gentlemen, what was going on in your business that led you to want to hire a virtual assistant? We'll start off with Josue.
I was actually listening to a Jay-Z song.
Stop
and he said,
it.
I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman.
That's alright.
The life of the entrepreneur, we wear so many hats, right? You're doing everything. And there was a point where I was running around with, chicken with its head cut off. And I realized I can't do this by myself. So I tried to figure out how can I leverage my business so that I can focus on my one thing. We've all read The One Thing, right? What is the one thing that such by doing everything else is easier or, come on, unnecessary. Yes, unnecessary. So whether you're selling real estate, whether you're coaching, regardless of what it is, it's not administrative stuff. It's not checking on disclosures. It's probably some aspect of growing your business and being focused in that niche. And so there was a lot of stuff that is not part of, our main focus. And I had to figure out, how do I do that? And so virtual was the way to go. Yeah.
Everyone, you heard that? Working on the business, not in the business, right? So, Rich?
So about 5 years ago, I was coaching about 82 clients a week, half-hour slots, and was carrying that kind of load for a long time. And I just finally, turned around and looked and just said, when I get done coaching, I've got to send, reports, emails to the clients. I got to send them their notes, and it was just a grind. And I got another fellow coach who started a company called Cyberbacker, basically created virtual assistants for the coaches. And so I said, hey, I need one. I'm in, whatever. And it was just a godsend for me. It freed me up. It allowed me to scale my business. I didn't have to do all the emails and again the marketing and the reports and the taking the notes. So I would have her on my calls, my coaching calls, scribing the notes, sending to the clients, and it just took so much pressure off of me and saved me such a huge amount of time. That was my first exposure to that, and I was just blown away by what these people can do, and how it was able to free me up to change my world. So
freed you up with your time.
Yes.
Quality of life.
So for me, a little bit different, I guess. I kind of started off with a virtual assistant as soon as I got into the business. I mean, I've only been in the business for 4 years, and a lot of my business comes from online leads, right? So I guess using VAs to kind of support the madness, right, and help make me more efficient, allows me to make more touches with clients. I just really had to find a way to use more resources at a lower cost to really up my game. As a lot of you guys know, online leads are super unloyal, right? So VAs help me just kind of be able to touch them more, reach out to them, and work through the madness.
So you can see Sergio started early on in the business, so anyone who's thinking like, oh, I have to be in the business a certain time frame or have a certain volume of business, that breaks that misconception. Thank you, Sergio. All right, gentlemen, for our next question, when did you hire your first virtual assistant, and how many virtual assistants do you have now? And do you plan on hiring any more virtual assistants? Let's start off with Rich.
I hired my first one 5 years ago to help me with my coaching business, and I have 19 currently that work for myself in the different businesses that I have. And full transparency, 3 years ago, I approached the guy who set me up with my virtual assistants, and I said, hey, we need to scale this because I know so many clients, so many people that I coach across the country that need a virtual assistant, and now that company has 3,500 small business owners and mainly top real estate agents across the country. So I bought a couple franchises. So I have cyberbackers that work for me in those businesses. I have about 550 that work in my franchises. So, yeah.
How many businesses do you own?
I own 11 businesses.
Rich has more businesses than I have virtual assistants. I have 5 that help me from compliance, administrative, all the stuff that you don't want to do, right?
Or you're not good at.
Or you're not good at, that they specialize in. It's building on your strengths. I hired my first one around the same time, about 5 years ago. I just got to a point where you just needed to start passing on responsibilities to someone else.
So for me, same thing. I hired my first VA part-time right when I started in the business, and I kind of like exactly what you're saying. They started doing things that I really wasn't good at, or things I didn't want to do, honestly, right? And the way that I kind of went about it was just remembering that, I'm the only one that could like really use my voice, right? And no one else can do that. So whatever I can do to use my voice more, and anything else that doesn't involve that, I just pass it on to somebody else. So currently have 7 VAs, most of them in South America, and then some in Pakistan.
Awesome.
So we have 7, 5, and 19. So if you're thinking of or hesitant about hiring one, it's possible, guys. Okay. So which virtual assistant company do you use, and tell us more about that company. Why did you choose that company? Or it sounds like you're all working with different companies. I'll start off with
So I guess like for me, I was using a company that was kind of like finding the VAs for me, and then was working with them, and it just, for me, didn't work. I felt like those VAs were really loyal to the company, but maybe not as loyal to me, right? So what I ended up doing is I started prospecting through Fiverr, looking for VAs direct, and then as soon as I found a really good one, I would ask them, can you introduce me to all your friends? And I just started poaching VAs from other companies. So that's how I kind of started up. I interview them, I try to create a relationship with them, and then we work direct on our end.
Yeah. So again, about 5 years ago, the company Cyberbacker showed up, and they have about 3,500 clients. So they probably have, I would say, maybe 3,800 virtual assistants in that company, primarily for real estate. And I think what's important to know is that's very entrepreneurial. I mean, obviously, I wish I would have hired somebody 30 years ago when I started and thought that way. What's important to understand is that all the companies aren't the same, and so you really want to know what you're doing and what you're looking for, because it's not about just who's the cheapest, right? You get what you pay for. You've got to deal with turnover. Some companies don't have training, so you want to really identify what is it, what are my needs, and what company is the best fit. Cyberbacker, as an example, is a legal entity in 2 countries, the Philippines and the U.S. So if there's any issues, they can go after people. They have a whole training department. So you're not having to find your own and do all that stuff yourself. They do the background checks. They only hire about 2% of the people they interview. So it's a system that you're plugging into there. But it's not going to be the cheapest, but you're going to at least know that, hey, if your person doesn't work out, they have somebody that can start with you the next day, and so it keeps you in business.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, of course.
Unlike exactly what Rick is saying, right? Like, if you're looking to get a VA, right, you really want to think about, like, where are you at in your career? What are you currently doing? And working with a company like Cyberbacker would be an amazing start, because if you hire a VA, right, you interview them, and we've all been there, right? We hire someone, we think they're going to be amazing, and then the second day you hire them, you're like, what did I do, right? This is like not the right fit. Someone like Cyberbacker, they can quickly, have that turnover and bring the next person in.
So is anyone curious to know how much do they pay their virtual assistants? Okay, I'll start off with Jose. How much are you paying each one of your virtual assistants? And are they part-time, full-time?
All of them are full-time. I guess it depends on, some of them are more on a contractual basis. So we pay them per assignment, and it's kind of hard to gauge. The ones that we pay hourly, it's going to be somewhere between $6 and $9 an hour. Again, depending on the skill level.
Yeah. Same thing, works out about $9 an hour. Yeah.
Are your Cyberbackers or virtual assistants, are they full-time or part-time?
Mine are all full-time, but you can hire them part-time as well. And again, the difference in pricing, it comes with how much stuff do you have to do versus, do you have a plug-and-play system where you can hire somebody to meet your needs immediately?
The question was how much
you paid? Are they part-time or full-time?
So all of mine are full-time, and we have a kind of different pay structure depending on like exactly what they're doing. So like I have a full-time property manager for all the properties that we own, and so he's full-time, and he does really high-level stuff. So he's making really important decisions on his own. So that's someone we're paying him $5.50 an hour, and then we have pretty much when they start off, they start like at $4, $3.75 around there.
What do you guys think? Good information, huh? Woo. All right. So why do we hire virtual assistants? To do the things we don't like doing or that we're not good at? So gentlemen, can you share with the audience some of the tasks or responsibilities that the virtual assistants that work for you do? Let's start off with Rich.
Marketing, a lot of administration. I was just talking to our social media backer today. We had a meeting, and this will put it in perspective for you. So YouTube, right, in the last 90 days since I hired her to help me with my coaching business, the YouTube views went up 199%, and my subscriptions went up 422. I don't know anything about social media, and this person in 90 days has basically transformed all of that. So when you try to scale that, like, what is that worth? You know, that's worth everything for a business, you know, in the coaching business as an example.
When I was considering this, my coach at that time suggested that I write a list of everything that I did not enjoy doing or didn't feel like I was the most capable at doing. That was my job description. And then that allowed me again to focus into stuff that, you know, I was great at doing and I enjoyed doing.
Yeah, so on my end, you know, the number one thing that, like, kind of how I go about it, right, is if there's something that's happening in my business, right, like everything that has to do with marketing, or for example, you don't have to do any of that, right? I mean, all you have to do really is show up, do the content, make the content, write a video or a picture. But like in terms of all of the posting, editing, planning, none of that has to be you. It could be a virtual assistant. And I think a lot of times people think about like let's have a VA do something that I don't want to do. I like to look at it a little bit differently, more like what part of my business can I reinforce, right? And where can I level it up? And then that's where I should bring in a VA to kind of help there. So for example, if you're not posting on YouTube, right? Or Google My Business, which is like huge right now, right? YouTube, Google My Business next like year is gonna be game changer for SEO. If you're not doing that and you're completely out of that space, that's somewhere you should probably bring in a VA at a very low cost, part-time, you know, very low budget that you can have a couple $100s a month to really support that. So we're doing everything from our team in Pakistan does all our editing of our videos, and South America property manager. We have a personal assistant in Argentina, and then marketing coordinator in Argentina as well, and then a full-time transaction coordinator in Venezuela.
What do you guys think? Good, good, good. I love it. I love it. Okay, gentlemen, since hiring your virtual assistant, or virtual assistants, I should say, since you all have multiple virtual assistants, may you please share how your sales volume or revenue has increased in your business? Let's start off with Josue.
I'm not going to answer that question. But it's definitely gone up. I think for me, it gives me the opportunity to do the things that I like to do. I like to travel, right? Without VAs, I can't travel. I just came back from a 3-week vacation to northern Italy and Greece. Yes, my revenue has got up. It frees me from doing the $10 an hour stuff, right? This guy's paying $4 an hour to do that. That's great. But yeah, the revenue's gone up.
So the question was?
Is how, since hiring that virtual assistant, how is your sales volume or revenue increased?
So just being very like directed with that question. I mean, we used to have an in-house property manager because I hadn't found someone yet that was capable to taking on that role, and we were paying them $22 an hour. Yeah, $22 an hour, and so really super expensive, right? I mean, they were managing 150 units, and you know, it was a really big chunk of my monthly budget. That was roughly about $4,000 a month. So as soon as they ended up leaving the company, we found somebody, we coached them, we brought them up to being, you know, our property manager. We were able to use that budget, move it over to marketing on Ylopo, for example, purchasing like 350 Google leads a month, and that has brought in an extra $200,000 to my business. So.
Thank you for quantifying that.
My income is more than doubled since in the last 5 years, since I hired my first VA. And like Josue, you know, I am working a lot less hours, which is what, at this stage of my life, is what's kind of more important. The other thing too that I think is important is that, you know, these VAs are highly educated. Most of them have degrees. They have worked for Fortune 1,500 companies, AT&T, DirecTV. I mean, so it's not like you're just hiring some random person that you have no idea. You have to train them. They don't speak English. None of that is the case. So, you're able to really scale your business, create leverage for yourself at about 50 to 70% less than it would cost to hire somebody here in California, right? And you all know what's happened to wages, right? Especially a lot of the business owners here. You're able to have somebody 40 hours a week, highly skilled, for $1,200 to $1,500 a month for 40 hours a week. So in my business, I can hire 5 cyberbackers for the cost of 1 employee, right? And that gives me leverage 5 times in terms of 200 hours a week versus 40, right? So that's the way you kind of want to look at it on a large scale and also on a small scale, because it's all the same thing.
Thank you, gentlemen. What have been some of the biggest challenges you've experienced working with virtual assistants? I'll start off with Sergio.
Okay, so for me, the biggest challenge was really kind of like reprogramming the way that I manage people, right? Before, I used to be like the type of person that everything had to be printed out, everything had to be like on my desk, and now we're paperless, completely 100% paperless. Another challenge I think when it comes to VAs is communication. So in the beginning, I had a hard time really like communicating with them, giving them feedback, because they weren't in front of me, right? So it's all virtual. You're over Google Meets or Zoom, and sometimes you have to coach them, right? You have to train them, and there's a language barrier sometimes. They're in a different country, there's a different time zone. Some of these VAs are, they're going through things that are completely different from us, right? Some of them have issues with utilities, electricity, safety, food, stuff like that. So you have to keep all that type of stuff in mind, and then just really like understand where they're coming from and coach them and go about it that way. So yeah.
For me, it was letting go. I think I'm the best at everything, right? And so when you hire someone, you're like, oh, but I can do it better. I could do it better. I could do it better. And at some point, you just have to trust the process and trust them.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. That was the hardest thing for me to do, and I'll bet you that a lot of people in this room feel the same way. I don't want to slow down long enough to train somebody, and nobody can do it as good as I can. And until I figured out that wasn't the case, that they can do it a lot better than I can do it, I finally was able to create that leverage. I mean, it took me, honestly, I've been in real estate for 32 years. I hired my first VA 5 years ago. So I did for 27 years by myself. So that's one thing. I think that life gets in the way, right, for these people. My first cyberback, my very first person passed away. That's just what happened. I've had other cyberbackers that, they get sick, or family members are sick, or they get pregnant, or just life stuff, right? And so you're gonna have that stuff that happens. Just like if you hire somebody in person, life's gonna be life, And so you want to make sure you're communicating with them on a regular basis. You don't want to just hire a virtual assistant and talk to them now and then don't communicate. Maybe every single day you should be talking to your person. They're an extension of you. They're really your partner. And if you treat them that way, they will run through walls for you. Like Cyberbacker is an example. They're vetted to make sure they have the right technology, so we don't have those issues. But there are typhoons. They have a lot of those things that happen there, and so it's important to understand who these people are, and the more that you can make them part of your family, if you will, and a partnership, the harder they'll work for you, and the easier things will be.
So we have a question from the audience. The audience would like to know, do you do performance reviews with your virtual assistants? And if you do, how often do you do them? I'll start off with Josue.
There's our KPIs, or however you want to do it. We have a monthly all hands conference call in the morning, where we kind of review all the major stuff that's kind of going on, and then individually I have different accountability meetings. I'm not a micromanager. I give a lot of autonomy and freedom to our staff. So I'm probably not the best person to answer that, but yeah, that's essentially what we do.
So at Cyberbacker, part of the policy they have is that they have to turn in an end of the day report, an EOD. Every single Cyberbacker has to turn that into their client. So there's a tracking sheet. It says what they did, what they spent their time on, if they're a lead generator, how many dials, how many contacts, what were the results of those. So there's constant tracking. I meet with my people every single week. We have a 30-minute meeting with my team for that particular business. So there's accountability, there's workshopping challenges, there's all those things, and then daily communication. They text and here's what I'm working on, or I need to talk to you, and again, the more involved you are, the better results you're going to get.
So for me, I'm 100% like micromanager. I like to manage everything, and I get super precise about things. So I've actually taken myself out of it, the equation. So I have a VA that does all the accountability. So we get a daily end of the day report. So for example, the property manager that we have, he'll send us all the new maintenance requests that got completed for the day, any new ones that came in, vacancies, delinquencies, the whole 9 yards. And then everybody on the team does that as well. So marketing, my personal assistant, the team out in Pakistan. So, and then my team manager. So we have 4 agents on our team. And we have a VA that's managing them and supporting them as well. So she's in charge of touching base with everybody and making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then I just meet with her once a day. So yeah.
So again, I'll just also add that same kind of setup. So a company like with Cyberbacker, every Cyberbacker has a head coach that's another Cyberbacker. So they're getting coached every single week, and they have a person that can help them with whatever challenges they're having besides me. So that helps a lot.
Sounds like your virtual assistant is your operations manager. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Yeah, exactly. So it sounds like for all 3 of you, hiring a virtual assistants has freed up a lot of your time. So what would be the most important thing to you that you've been able to do with that free time?
I've been able to make more calls. So again, ultimately, I think a lot of times people think about VAs, and really, most investments that you make in your business, you think about, I'm going to make this investment either to marketing, support, staff, whatever it may be, and you think about how many leads can this person generate for me, right? And I think there really needs to be kind of a change in mindset there. You have to think about more, how can they free up your time so you can go and get more leads, right? And so yes, a VA can generate leads, but a lot of times it's not going to be somebody, in my opinion, someone from the Philippines or South America, right? That's going to be making a cold call, generating a lead. It could happen, but in my opinion, I use them more for support staff, back-end stuff, admin work, rather than using them to lead generate. And so with all that time that they freed up from me not having to be, I have a meeting, 15-minute meeting daily with my transaction coordinator. He just works for our team. He has an email that's our team email. He's not working for anybody else. And so he takes on absolutely everything. And we have a 62-step checklist for buyers and sellers on all the things that need to happen, all integrated into our CRM. So that kind of brings up another thing, with these VAs, if you just hire them and you tell them, hey, go do this, it's not going to work, right? So you need to make sure your tech stack is super integrated, that they're able to communicate efficiently, that you have some type of communication platform where you're talking to everybody, right? And then that they're also able to talk to each other. So I've just been able to really grow my business by being able to hit the phones more, go on to more appointments, and really grow my business that way.
It comes down to that. It comes down to growing your business. You are the best representation of your business, and the more you can be belly to belly with your clients, the better it is, right? The more you're caught up doing paperwork or administrative stuff, you're not doing lead generating activities. So VAs do that for you.
Yeah, same thing. Just free you up so that you can be more creative and work on your businesses instead of in your businesses. And then personal time. Again, for me, I really wanted to start having more personal time for the family and to do different things. And I was able to do that as well as grow and scale my businesses with that leverage.
So I was in West LA earlier today, and I ran into a realtor who works in Ventura County. He works in Westlake Village, and I was curious what's going on in the real estate world on that side of the world, where I kind of live in a bubble. And I asked him, I'm like, do you use a virtual assistant, or do you know anyone that does? He's like, no, nobody uses virtual assistants. I was like, oh, okay, all right, got it. So what are the most common objections, gentlemen, you hear from business owners on why they don't hire virtual assistants, right?
I think, it costs too much, just not knowing. I think I'm going to have to train them. I don't have the time to do that. They don't speak English. They have an accent. All this kind of stuff that again are limiting beliefs that put roadblocks in front of people so they don't create leverage in their life because they're jaded to the fact that that's what their thoughts are. And oh well, I guess that's just more business for everybody else. But you kind of have to get out of your own way.
I think Rich captured the majority of that. I think the only thing is the expectation of service. We want to present a certain brand to our clients with our client. When we have our investors. And so we're like, are they okay speaking to the virtual assistants, or do they need to speak to me? And again, part of it is just letting go. If they need to escalate it, fine. It comes goes to where it needs to, but it's fine.
So I have a lot of agents that come to me and tell me, how have you been in the business for such a short time, and your production's pretty high, and one of the biggest things that I like to tell them is you need to let go, right? You need to let go of the control. Like I said, I'm a control freak, so I like to control everything. But at a certain point, I realized if I don't let go and I allow them to make mistakes, right, that they're gonna then learn from, I'm never gonna be able to scale. And so some of the things that I hear from other agents to why they don't want to use VAs is, I've heard everything, honestly. But the biggest ones is, there's a security factor, right? We work with sensitive documents, so this, or I've heard it's too expensive, or how do I know that they're? This is the most, the biggest one. How do I know that they're actually working? So everything has an answer, you guys. You just have to get creative, and once you see how much production you can do with just as a cost, right? Because the cost is so low, and you can get more hours in. You will start getting creative on finding solutions to some of these problems. Like the security factor, we have no issues with security. We found a solution to that, and just getting creative on how we the technology that we use and the processes that we have.
All right, gentlemen. For the audience, any advice that you would give to someone, whether it's in real estate or any industry, any advice of someone who's thinking of hiring a virtual assistant? I'll start off with Josue.
It's probably red light, green light. Have you guys heard this? Right? You don't have to hire 5. You don't have to hire 12. You don't have to buy a company, right? Hire 1. Start part-time, but take that step, and that's it. Just don't overthink it. Just get started.
So the question again?
Advice that you would give to someone who's considering or thinking about hiring a virtual assistant.
So if you're thinking of hiring a virtual assistant, I think the best advice I can give you is definitely just get started. Start small. Start with 1. Find a task that they can quickly pick up and take it on efficiently. The other bit of advice would be just don't. Make sure you find someone that you connect with, right? Someone that you're gonna kind of enjoy jumping on that call with them, and that you could communicate with them on a daily basis, and that you have that accountability. As soon as you hire them on, make sure you're talking to them at least 15 minutes a day. Let them know that they can come to you if they need anything, and just have metrics involved that you can measure so you can measure their success.
Yeah, I would also just add that, all the affiliates in the room, this isn't just a real estate thing, right? We're all in the same business, right? It's about leveraging our time, it's about marketing, it's about customer service, it's client acquisition, it's lead generation, all of those things, whatever it is that you do, right? You can scale yourself and leverage yourself through a virtual assistant. So keep that in mind. The question again was? Advice. I'll just say this one thing. You're one person, you have 24 hours in a day. Why not leverage it through multiple people or one person or part-time for, $9 an hour and see what happens to your business. And again, test it out. Try it. Like again with a company like Cyberbacker, you can actually go have a business evaluation that's free and talk to a Cyberbacker about all the things that they can do to help you and help you get clear on the things that you want to leverage off, and just have that experience. It doesn't cost anything, right? That's what my advice.
Like, one other little thing is, even like if let's just say you're just not ready to let go, right, of the control, you can't even think of something that you would have them do. I mean, who's heard of like AI, right? I think we've all heard of it at this point, right? You love AI, right? So it's like, if you've been thinking about, and I know a lot of realtors have, and even a lot of the affiliates, if you've been thinking about how can I implement AI into my business, hire a VA just to teach you how to use AI, right? Go on Fiverr, find someone that can train you on it, help you answer all the questions. Maybe they can go do some research, come back to you. It's just a way to, utilize other people to give you information, help, if you need to build something out, have them do it. So you just need to get creative. If there's things that you want to explore, use VAs to do more.
So we have 2 more questions and then we're going to open it up for the audience if anyone has any questions. So knowing what you know now, since you have virtual assistants, is there anything that you would do differently?
I would have just started sooner. I would say that's probably the main thing.
Ditto. That, and I think I know I could do a better job of accountability. These guys are great at the metrics and whatnot. I'm gone by the time the workday ends. So I'm like, all right, cool. They check out at that time. They check out at that time.
Hire virtual assistants to be the operations manager.
Absolutely. That's my next hire.
So, question?
Knowing what you know now, working with virtual assistants, what would you do differently?
Okay, for sure, the accountability part, I should have taken myself out of that role long ago. Like you said, we only have 24 hours in the day, so you don't have a lot of time, and I should have just gone all in earlier on and made the changes that I had to make to my business. When it comes to like the integrations and just the systems that I have, I should have done that way earlier. It again goes back to working on the business and not in the business. We all hear that, but really sitting down and taking the time to fine tune your systems so that you can bring on these people, right? I mean, that are cost a fraction of what it costs to have staff here in the States. So yeah, that's what I would really advise, is just go all in if you're gonna do it. Obviously start small and have that daily accountability and have systems to be able to manage it all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Last question. How do you see virtual assistants changing the real estate industry, and how do you see them changing all industries? Let's start off with Josue.
Well, I think the way it's changing is the kind of the conversation that we're having, right? It's freeing us up to do real estate. When as a real estate, I think real estate it was late to change, to reinvent itself. As the travel agents went out of business, right? There was all these businesses that went extinct, and I was freaking out. I was like, what's going to happen with real estate? Are we going to go 100% online? And there's all these disruptors, right? There's always threats. Every year there's a threat to our industry. And I thought, well, are we going to have a career? Like, what's going to happen? Do they need us? Or is it going to be strictly Expedia real estate? But the reality is the kind of interactions that we do are so intricate. They need a professional, right? There are certain things that you don't need that, but real estate really is one of those things. And what VAs allow us to do is to really be that resource and really be that person, that counselor, that therapist, that professional that is face to face with the client. It allows us to accentuate and do the things that we want to do. We are business people, right? And so just because you're a business person doesn't mean you need to do every part of that business. It just allows us to focus on the thing that's important.
So in my opinion, I think it's VAs and really technology the next 12 months, it's going to really change big time. Not just in the real estate industry, but everything from healthcare to, civil service, everything, government. Technology is really changing the world. And I think VAs are going to play a very important role in that. The cost of hiring someone here in the States is getting super just.
Do you really train them, or do you feel that it's more like a number game?
I just want to add to that. Like, it doesn't mean that you still got to follow up, right? Like, you can't just be like, cool, I hired him, that's it, I'm good. You still need to follow up. But you have the two different ends of the spectrum here.
All right, everyone, let's give them a round of applause. JJ.
JJ has a question.
Real quick one, because they're about to kick us out.
I know, right? So I just had a question because, if you start too early, you might run out of money, or if you start too late, then you might be in different type of problem. So is there a gauge, an income gauge, where you feel that an assistant it's time to get an assistant, whether it's virtual or whatever, but is there an income gauge? Like, for example, when I was an agent, my gauge was 10 escrows, right? Have 10 escrows on the pipeline, 2-3 close, you open 2-3, so always have 10 on the pipeline, so it was my gauge to have an assistant. Is that anything that you would advise as far as when would it be a good time to get a virtual assistant?
Great question, JJ.
So again, it's the red light, green light principle. And the way that I saw it was not necessarily numbers based, but it was, at what point is my business suffering by me doing these things? It's time to hire.
Yeah, and it's a tough question, because everybody has a different financial thermostat and what your expenses are and all those kind of things. I think it does come down to, hey, and where I'm at, am I going to really be able to go to the next level, if I don't get some help? And what it says in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book is that your very first hire that you should ever make is an assistant to create leverage for yourself. So, is there a specific number? It depends. If your expenses are 10 grand a month, then it's you're gonna need to do a lot more escrows, to be able to afford somebody. If your expenses are 2,000 a month, then sure, you could start one, making 5 grand a month, right? So it just depends.
Do you want to answer that, Sergio?
So I think it's super simple. There's not an exact time like everyone said. I think the best way to look at it is like as soon as you feel like you're ready to go all in on whatever you're doing, right? So if you decide I'm going to be a cold caller, or I'm going to be a door knocker, or open houses, as soon as you decide like this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to prospect, and I'm going to be all in on this, and I'm ready to do that, you should hire someone right away. For me, I was in the business 3 months. I got my first escrow, and as soon as I closed it, I was like, I'm going to kill it. So let's just do it. So I went all in. I started hiring VAs. Very early on, I started spending money on lead generation, marketing, and so I would say it's just whenever you're ready to say you're going to go all into your business, that's when you need to do it.
High five. High five. High five. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's have one last round of applause. Thank you, everyone, for